Hello there.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Ali Moses. Welcome back to the channel. Another Scream video today, and today we are going to be ranking all the Scream finales. Yes, all the Sidney Prescott confrontations with the infamous killer Ghostface. Which ones were the best? Which ones were the worst? And in fact, I kind of find enjoyment in all of them. So there's not really an out-and-out worst or terrible one, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. These are my subjective opinions. So let me know in the comment section down below which Scream finale you find to be the best in the series, which one you find out to be the weakest. And we've got a sixth film on the way, so you can bet your bottom dollar I'll be doing an updated video of this when the sixth film comes out. But yeah, we can wait for that. So yeah, right now we are going to get right into the video. Let me know in the comment sections, as I said, which ones you find the best, which ones you find the worst, and let's get right into it. In at number 5, and yes, in the process of re-recording, because the footage did corrupt, I did record this video already, I swapped 4 and 5 around just now, because I thought to myself, number 4, or the film that is in that number 4, is just a better third act in my opinion. And as much as I love the setting of this film in at number 5, which is the Scream 3 third act, you can tell there is a lot of daring script issues in the film. And yes, there is an obvious second Ghostface that was meant to be present. However, they did make it the sole mastermind of Roman Bridger. And there is a lot to love in this third act. I do love the chase sequences, in particular of this Hollywood producer's house. You know, sort of get like a maze element in it. Obviously with, I think it was the girl that plays Gale Weathers' character in the film. She had an amazing death. I hate to say like something amazing about a death, but yeah, like her behind the mirrors and Dewey having to shoot the mirrors, I thought it was great stuff. Tyson's death as well, getting chased up the balcony. He had a bit of humor in his chase sequence as well, you know. Oh, you motherfucker. And I like the confrontation with Sidney and Roman. It was really clever. You know, Sidney getting the best of Roman at his own game. You know, we saw previously in the film Ghostface get shot multiple times by Dewey, and he had a bulletproof vest on, and then Sidney did the same little toy on Roman Bridger, using the bulletproof vest when he thought she was dead, and he went to go check up on her. Hang on, she disappeared. She played their own little Ghostface game on him. And yes, a lot of people have been like, yo, how did Roman Bridger survive? Or when he faked his death? How did he fake his death when Gale clearly checked his pulse? And yes, it is a dangerous task to do, but it is possible. But yeah, I did find it the weaker of the third act, and I think that's down to as well what happened previously in the film in terms of the lead up, where you could see that there's an obvious second killer in the film. And I liked Roman's motive in terms of like him being the brother of Sidney and him being cast out. But I didn't like how they tied it in all to this Hollywood drama of Sidney's mom. Like, you would have thought Sidney's mom would have told her about all that stuff. I just don't know. I don't know, but like, you don't get too much of like what happened in their relationship with her mother. So you would have thought she would have told her about that lifestyle, but I guess it was a hidden lifestyle that Hollywood and Roman Bridger, the director himself, the architect of it all. And I feel like it takes away a little bit from Billy and Stu that he architected them as well. I directed them a little bit. It kind of takes away from the first film, and I didn't like that a little bit. But yeah, in at number 5, we have Scream 3. Now moving on to the number 4 spot, and there are certain reasons why you could interchange these two. And number 4 is Scream 2. And yes, I do think Scream 3 does have the better final setting. I do not like, or like, I don't enjoy as much of the setting of just the college theater. I think it's very confined. There's not much to do. The final confrontation with the two killers in Scream 2 is very confined to this certain location, obviously, of the staged area. And I do enjoy the Hollywood house in Scream 3 much more. But however, I do think the performances of Timothy Olyphant, and in particular as well Mrs. Loomis, do elevate Scream 2 above Scream 3 and the motives of the Ghostface killers. I just love Timothy Olyphant in this third act. I just rewatched it now, and he's absolutely amazing in it. I love his reasoning as to, you know what? I just want to get to the trial. That's where the fun begins, you know? This is just a prelude and everything. I just love the way he acts out this scene. He steals the show. And I do like that bit of doubt the film plays on you when you're thinking, oh, could Gale be that final killer? Just as she enters the room, when Timothy Olyphant says, you know what? I had a second partner. And Gale enters, and you have that little bit of doubt. You're like, no way. Surely not Gale. But Mrs. Loomis enters behind. You know, she just wants revenge for her boy, for what happened. And as well, Sidney's mother stuffed up everything. Stuffed up the hole, situation with the family, so it stretches to that as well. You know, she lost her husband as well as her son. She lost a lot, and it makes sense why. However, I do think she should have been in the film a bit more, Mrs. Loomis's character. However, we're not here to talk about the entire film. We're here to talk about the third act. Sydney is much better, I feel like, in the third act in Scream 3, with her toying with Roman Bridger and sort of becoming that second Ghostface, or sort of taking the mantle Ghostface and having those Ghostface elements of having the bulletproof vest and, you know, maneuvering around and hiding. I do enjoy her much in that, but I just think the performances of the killers in the third act of Scream 2 are much better. And moving on as well to the confrontation with Cotton Weary, I do like the play with him. You know, you have that element, is he going to switch on Sydney? You know, because there's a lot of doubt. Sydney does antagonize him a little bit throughout the film, or she does push him away and does annoy him. And you think, is he going to switch? Is he going to finally flip? You know, was he part of the original killings? But we all know he does end up saving her life, you know, with "consider it done. You're going to get your interview," and bang, you see Mrs. Loomis' face in the last second. She's like, what the heck? And then bang, gets shot. However, I do think these two are going to interchange in the future. I am probably going to switch 3 and 2 around in the number 4 and 5 spot, or as we now know, number 6 spot. You never know. But yeah, I just think Mickey is absolutely amazing in this third act, and I think that's what elevates it above Scream 3. Now, in the number 3 spot, yes, we decided to get up, do a little bit of movement, and a lot of you may be surprised with this one, but in at number 3, I'm actually going with Scream 2022. Now, I absolutely enjoyed the heck out of this third act. I mean, it is the most bloody third act in all of the Scream films, in my opinion. This was a violent mess. Like, it had everything. The setup as well in Stu's house, what a way to go back. And that's why I think the third act does falter a bit. I think it's a bit all too familiar in terms of, like, yes, we have the final confrontation in Stu's house. However, there is so much to love in this third act. I really enjoyed Sydney, you know, talking with Ghostface again and telling him, you know, you are the most derivative out of them all. I loved Amber in the third act. Mikey Madison, absolutely fantastic, playing this psychotic serial killer. I mean, she did the job. As we know, she did it in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and her character does meet a similar fate as well, being burned to death, shot as well, and then shot in the head on top. However, I do think, as I said before, it does tread familiar grounds, not only as well as being back in the Stu's house. I know it's a bit of nostalgia as well, and I do hope Scream 6 does break new grounds with the third act and does try and be something more creative. As well, I thought the killer's motivations and reveal were the weak points of the third act. I mean, I did guess Richie partway through the film as well, which I think that's why this film goes in at number 3, despite loving a lot of the third act. And furthermore, I think the motive was very similar to Scream 4 in terms of, like, although they didn't want to make their own movie, they wanted to make new material for Hollywood to make more of the stab films. They were just basically talking about toxic fandom and them being disappointed in the stab films, and that's why, hence, making all these killings to make new material for Hollywood. So I guess there wasn't as much of a connection to the previous films as we thought there was going to be going into Scream 2022, and that's why I think it is a bit on the weaker side due to the fact that's why it's subjective. I guessed one of the killers midway through, and it was very similar to the third act of the first film, with the boyfriend being the killer of the main character, you know, Sam being the new Sydney. And I did get thrown off by the Billy Loomis Force Ghost projection things as well, with him pointing to the knife for Sam, and it completely didn't belong in a Scream film in my opinion, and it felt really off and really cheesy. Moving on to the number 2 spot, and yes, the number 2 spot is Scriforum or Scream 4, and that is down to Jill. I think Charlie was the weaker of the Ghostface. However, he was a very manipulated person, and he did do most of the killing, so you can tell how much love he had for Jill by doing all these brutal killings, and he wanted to just impress her, and she was the mastermind behind it all. And the reason it is at number 2 is because she was the closest to succeeding as Ghostface. I know she died, but she was the closest death, like the closest to succeeding out of all the Ghostfighters. And you could make an argument for her succeeding as well prior to the hospital scene, in terms of, like, she got her fame. She got what she wanted. She was the sole survivor. All the cameras flashing in her face while she was getting transported to the hospital. She almost had it, Despite not checking up on whether Sydney was actually dead, she set it up all perfectly. She was crazy. She was psychotic, man. Stabbing herself, throwing herself through the table, using her boyfriend's own hair, you know, to frame him. Everything was perfectly set up with Jill. And the third act in the hospital was actually great as well, with Sydney talking to Jill about, you know, first rule of remakes, don't fuck with the original, baby, yes, and using the defibrillator to absolutely annihilate her. And unfortunately for Jill, she came so close, but yeah, there's a lot to love in the Scream 4 third act. However, on second watch, you do guess that it's Jill due to her, basically the element of, the process of elimination, with Trevor being dead, Charlie killing his best friend, Kirby being dead, and you're like, who's left in the house? Oh yes, there's Jill because of the second Ghostface. But yeah, there's so much to love in the Scream 4 third act, and that's down to Jill being the killer and her amazing performance. And it goes down as well to my reaction on first watch of Scream 4. She completely caught me off guard as a killer, and yes, Scream 4 is in at number 2. Moving on to the number 1 spot, you guessed it, it is Scream 1996, the first ever Scream film. I mean, there's so much to love in this third act. We have Randy Meeks, we have Gail Weathers, we have Dewey, we have Sydney, we have Billy, we have Stu. And this all goes down to the party in the final house. You have just the Randy scene telling him the lowdown, you know? Giving him the lowdown on the rules of basically the horror genre and what to expect. That's absolutely amazing. You have Tatum's death, and then the final confrontation with Sydney as well. Just absolutely phenomenal. A 1v2 on the Ghostfaces. Their performances are absolutely phenomenal, Stu and Billy. Especially Stu when he's like, I'm feeling a little woozy here, man. And then when Sydney calls him and he's like, my mom and dad are gonna kill me. He's absolutely fantastic. Their motive stretches way back. Stu becoming this psychotic killer, you know, raping and killing Sydney's mother with Billy. And Billy's motive stretching, you know what? He even tells Sydney, you know, it's actually scarier when we don't have a motive. Did Norman Bates ever have a motive? You know, did they ever give a reason for why Hannibal Lecter liked to eat people and skin their faces? I don't know, but yeah, this third act is absolutely amazing and still holds up to this day, and it's so much fun to watch. I mean, there's a reason why this third act is just above all the others. There's something about the characters and they're just on-screen presence. It's just, they're all charismatic and they bring such energy to the screen, whether they are the killer, whether they're just a side character, and it's just so fun to watch. And I feel like that's what's lacking in the later Scream films. It's just characters like this first film had, and I hope they recapture that for the 6th film. And the 5th film did have a little bit of that, but I felt like some of the acting at points was a little bit cringeworthy. But yeah, we're here to talk about the Scream 1996 third act, and there's so much to love. Sydney going brutal beast mode on her ex-boyfriend Billy, stabbing him with the umbrella, you know, poking a hole in his bullet hole where she shot him, and then finishing him off with the headshot, with the final four surviving actually. Sydney, Dewey, Gail, and Randy. I absolutely love the third act of this film and still holds up to this day. Let me know in the comment section down below, my friends, what you think the best finales in the Scream franchise are. As always, been your boy Elmos. Take care. God bless. Peace.